All right, guys, welcome back to Frederick Advice Givers, episode 131 with Chris Spear, Perfect Little Bites. Thanks for joining us today, Chris.
Thanks so much for having me.
I appreciate you coming in. So, Perfect Little Bites. So, Chris was an executive chef and went out and started his own business. So, what he actually does is meals, entertaining at people's houses. So, he'll the week before send out a questionnaire, 7-8 questions. What are your food desires? What's your spice tolerance? Are you allergic to anything? What foods do you like? Do you dislike? And then you kind of let Chris kind of mold the menu to your liking. You can do anywhere from 2 people dinner parties up to 16.
Yeah, I do about 2 to 20.
2 to 20. Okay. Chris, what he does is he brings everything in house to your house, to the place that you want him to cook. It could be an hour and a half event, or if you want to help him cook, he can help you do that. You can be involved as much or as little as you want. He's got a pretty cool concept going on. He started this business just about a year ago.
I started it 7 years ago as a side hustle,
right?
But I'm in my first full year. I just passed a year of doing this full time.
Awesome. All right, so for our listeners that don't know you, Chris, who are you? How do you describe yourself? What's your origin story?
So my name's Chris. I'm from Massachusetts originally. I moved all over the country over the past decade or so, but landed in Frederick, Maryland. Professionally, I'm a chef. I love cooking. It's my heart, my soul. I've been doing it since I was 16. And that's just kind of what drives me professionally. I was a little fat kid growing up and loved to eat and just wanted to get in the food business and started as a teenager. So I went to culinary school. I've cooked in all sorts of kitchens. And I've done it every single day since I've been 16.
Okay, cool. So we're going to do things a little bit different today. We're going to have Chris actually prepare for us. I'll ask the questions as he's doing his thing, like he would if he was at your house, because I want to give you like a behind the scenes of what happens. So go ahead and start over here. So Chris, why did you guys choose to settle down in Frederick?
My wife's from Winchester, Virginia, so that's about an hour away. So we were currently living outside of Philadelphia. And my wife really wanted to be close to family, so we started looking about an hour radius of Winchester.
Okay.
And we found Frederick. We had never heard of it. It was like the biggest thing on the map. So we went and checked it out, and we thought it was great. And this was about 10 years ago, and the food scene was just emerging then, and Volt hadn't even opened yet. But we thought this is going to be a great place, and being kind of food people that we are. I thought it'd be a really fun place to live. Plus, you're super close to DC and Baltimore, so it seemed like an amazing place to move to.
And that's the great thing about Frederick is we are centrally located, and somebody like you that's starting out their own business, you're doing a very niche business that you don't have to stick strictly in Frederick, although I know that's where your focus is. You can go down to Rockville, Bethesda, DC, Baltimore.
Absolutely. I mean, I say I serve about 60 miles from Frederick, which gives me Northern Virginia, DC, Baltimore. I get into Gettysburg and things like that. So it's great. I'm not relying on having any one location and hoping people find my business because I take it to them.
Cool. All right, so let's loosen up here. Let's get our listeners to get you to know you on a personal level. So what's the last purchase that you splurged on for either yourself or your family?
Oh, I guess for myself, for my kitchen, because I love that stuff, is I bought a Vitamix blender. If anyone knows those, they're super expensive. They can go up to like $600. But for me, it's, investing my money for business into something that's like really beneficial and that's going to last and really do the job. And I love it. I use it like almost every single time I work.
Cool. All right, so what's a hobby hobby that you could do in your spare time, that you enjoy doing in your spare time?
I love photography. I really got into that about 7 years ago. When I moved to Frederick, I joined the Frederick Camera Club. So it's great kind of learning from some of the older guys who have more experience. And, it's beneficial in your business, like doing photos for Instagram and Facebook and things like that.
Very cool. All right, Chris, so when you wake up in the morning, what's inside you that drives you to where you are today? To wake up every morning, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is tough. So what's inside you that drives you?
I think being happy. I know I've had jobs that were decent jobs where you get up and you're kind of like dreading going to work. And I think when you find that thing that really excites you, that kind of is everything. And just I wanted to figure out how every day I could get up and be super excited about life and work and everything. And starting my own business gave me a lot of that, the flexibility and then being able to have more time to take care of myself. It's been great.
Cool. All right, so what are you making for us today?
I'm gonna do a little kale Caesar salad. So it's a barbecue kale. So I do a mixture of kind of like a barbecue sauce and a Caesar dressing. Toss it with some kale. I'm gonna use some Asiago cheese and some cornbread croutons. So kind of like a barbecue / southern take on a Caesar salad.
Okay. And so Chris brought everything that you see here in, like he would do it at your house, at your party. You don't have to do anything. He comes in, he cooks, he brings everything, and then he cleans up at the end, correct?
Yeah, that's the nice part. As much as I want the food to be the focus, when people hire me, a lot of it's just because they don't want to have to clean their house, do the dishes. I think we've all had those parties at our homes where you look at that sink full of dishes at 10 o'clock at night and say, like, do I do this tonight or do I do this tomorrow? Right. And with this, you don't have to deal with that at all.
Cool. So you've been doing this for just over a year full time, 7 years as a side hustle. So what's a piece of advice that you could give someone just starting out in the entrepreneurial world, a shortcut that you've seen?
For me, it's networking and finding mentors. I had never started my own business. I had run big companies, but finding people who've done it. For me, I joined the Chamber of Commerce. That was very beneficial. I've been a member now for 4 years because you get to connect with all these people who've done it or are doing it. You get some accountability partners, being able to sit down sometimes and just audit each other and talk about what's working and what's not. And sometimes they can just give you like one little bit of advice. So for me, especially now that I'm a solo business person, I have no one to bounce things off of. It's great for me to kind of connect with people and just sit down and kind of have them look at it from the outside.
So do you have any mentors that are doing the same thing? Like, I know not locally, but nationally that you lean on?
Just, a combination of chefs as resources who've been in the food business. No one who's actually doing what I'm doing. I don't really have a lot of contacts with people doing this personal chef, private chef thing because it is so small. Right. So kind of looking for inspiration with restaurant chefs and then taking from business owners and operators and kind of combining the two myself.
Right on. Right on. All right, so on the flip side of the shortcut that you've learned, what's a bad piece of advice that somebody might have given you over the years or in this past year that just hasn't worked out?
I just think people who aren't in business are critical. I don't know that I've gotten bad advice. I think just people are more skeptical about starting businesses. Like when you talk to people and you have the passion and you're excited and then they're kind of like the downer because they've been in the machine of, working a job for so long. So I guess it's them telling you like, don't do it. It's not a good idea. You hear like, oh, you've got a great job. You've got benefits. You've got security, but having to push through that and the noise and just knowing that like in yourself, that it's going to work out. And if it's not, I've got backup plans. I'm going to make it work. And just people in the realm of marketing, you've got people who kind of look at what you're doing and I feel like they don't necessarily know me and my business and they've got a lot of advice of like how I should be doing Facebook ads or Instagram boost posts or something like that. But then you go and look at the work they've done and I feel like I've done a better job than their professional marketers. So just kind of having that intuition of knowing what you think is going to work.
And you got to go with your gut.
Absolutely.
And then you got to follow your passion. Like running a business, be small, medium, large, whatever, you've got to have a passion for what you're doing because otherwise it just becomes a grind.
Yeah.
All right. So in the last 3 years, Chris, what's one pivotal moment that's led you to opening your own business?
I think for me, it was the realization that I wasn't going to move up in the company I was with. I was working at a company. I had some good times. I had some bad times. And then you just get to that point where you say, I've been here for so long, like it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get that promotion. I'm not going to get moved. I just feel like I'm wasting my time. I've been there for a number of years and it's not going anywhere. And you just I think when you get up and you go to that job and you don't have it in you, I never want to be someone who just kind of rests and phones it in. And I was starting to get to that point where I knew like I wasn't giving my all. Right. So that's when I knew I had to go.
Because you're basically, you're as a chef, every day you have to be at optimum level.
Absolutely.
Because if you turn around a dish is not up to your normal standards, then it looks bad on the restaurant, it looks bad on you. So every day you got to be performing.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So episode 131. So I've interviewed 130 other people, other entrepreneurs, business owners. I get so much out of asking you questions. I want to flip the script here. Take a second, ask me a question. It could be professional, personal, whatever.
Well, I love food. So, what do you think the most interesting or bizarre thing you've ever eaten is? Is there anything that you would think maybe other people would be kind of surprised?
So that's a good one. So my wife and I, Susan, just recently went a trip to Italy and then a Mediterranean cruise. So we were at one of the islands, I think it was Rhodes, in the Mediterranean, and I ate snails, like not escargot type snails, like actual snails. And this was after enjoying the night before, so I wasn't feeling great the next day. And I was like, hey, I just want to try something because I'll enjoy, like, I pride myself in my ability to cook at our house too. So when I go out, I want to try something that I can't do or I don't know how to make. You know how to make everything, so I get to try different cuisines. So I thought, oh, snails, that'd be interesting. And we were, you pull them out of their little shell, and they're in butter and garlic, and the first half is good and cooked, and the second half was not. It was kind of slimy. So that was not that good. So I would have to say snails is the one thing that I've tried.
Okay, yeah, I've never had them like that before. Like I've had the traditional French escargot, but
yeah,
it sounds like this is a very different experience.
Yeah, I mean, this was literally like they might have gotten snails from like the river or somewhere, and they picked them up and they ended up cooking them for me. So they were. I don't think I'd do it again.
But you'll always remember that. Like, nobody's ever going to remember that mediocre dinner they had at the Olive Garden. Exactly. But you're always going to remember that. Like, I remember eating organ meat stew in Spain with my wife in some little tapas bar.
Okay.
So,
Was that better than my snail experience?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, the food was fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. So,
cool. All right, so what failure or loss has helped mold you to set you up for success?
I think, so when I moved to Frederick, I was thinking I was going to start a food truck. And I didn't even realize the regulations were prohibitive of that. And then you have to find a commercial kitchen, which there aren't any. And I really wanted to do that. Looking back on that, that would have been huge capital investments of having to get a commercial kitchen, buy a food truck and all that. But I was so set on doing that. And then I had to figure out how can I still do this business of cooking what I want and doing what I want, and not having to have a commercial kitchen or a food truck. And now this personal chef, now I have no overhead. I come to your house, I use your kitchen.
Right.
Financially, it's been great. And who knows where I would have been had I had to take on the lease of a big kitchen, buy a food truck, all that other things. But I almost felt crushed that I couldn't do that because I really thought that was going to be my thing. And I had this great vision. I talked about it for 2 or 3 years. And then as soon as I figured this out, it shifted and I kicked in the full gear. And I'm so glad that it worked out this way.
So you're talking about food trucks, food buses, have you ever been on Scotty's bus? Have you ever heard of Scotty's bus?
I've not.
Okay, so it got grandfathered in. Scotty started a food bus back in the 50s, and it was in operation until about 6 years ago. He's probably 85 years old. He had a special Scotty sauce, he had hamburgers, hot dogs, and you literally walked like a 1950s school bus. They had seats on both sides, and he basically got grandfathered in with the health department. So he was able to do that for 50 years. So I can see where the expense of starting a food truck would be a hindrance in your business.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, so where do you see yourself in 3 years and 10 years?
3 years from now, I'm still going to be doing this. I don't know if I'm going to bring people on. I've got a couple chefs I've been working with, a couple who help me. They're always with me. I'm not at the point that I'm sending them out on their own, but we might get to that point.
Okay.
So I think that would, in the 3 years, be the most realistic. I'm starting kind of a platform for independent chefs right now.
Okay.
I just kind of launched. It's called Chefs Without Restaurants. So I don't know how that's going to grow, but basically I want it to be a tool to educate other chefs, have resources so we can connect. There's so many of us out here who don't have restaurants. We're working on our own. I would love to tell my story of, what I've overcome, so everyone doesn't have to redo it themselves. So having just recently launched this, we're going to locally tie it together where a bunch of chefs, we come together and do some events and use it for promotions.
Okay.
But I think that's something that I could grow on a much larger scale and have it be a resource for other chefs and have, whether it be a job board with customers or just, question where we can help each other out. So I kind of see that as the big thing that might grow out of my business.
Very cool. So what point when you go to somebody's house to feed them, is it 8 people, 12 people, 16 people? Where do you need that second chef?
13 or higher depending on how they want to do it. Okay. So some people want the full formal where I'm going to literally plate and serve and walk and do, you know, full table service like a restaurant. Right. I had one customer, she wanted to do it outside in their backyard, so that takes a lot of manpower. I did a party just on Sunday night where they were very casual and they were fine with coming up and getting their own food in the kitchen. So I set the table ahead of time, and then, you know, I set a carving station. They come over and grab a plate, and I, you know, put the food on and slice their tenderloin and serve it to them. So I can handle that. That was 15 people, and I did it by myself because that's how they wanted the service. It depends on the kind of food. If they want something that takes 3 or 4 ingredients, you know, I do shrimp and grits, and that's, you got to put the grits on the plate, the shrimp, the tomato, the bacon, and then the veg. That's a little more intricate than just slicing beef and putting it on a plate. So I kind of figure out the menu with them, and then based on the menu and how formal they want it to be, kind of dictates if I need another set of hands.
Okay, so you do that initial questionnaire.
Yeah.
Then if I had 8 people here, we would go back and forth and fine tune a menu, or it's kind of up to you.
Either or. Okay. So I let people know you can do one of 2 things. I'll send you selections in each category and say, you know, here's 6 soups, 6 salads, pick one. Here's 12 entrees, pick one. Or you can just say, if you're totally comfortable with me cooking a menu that you don't know anything about, right, I can either just write one menu and tell you this is what I'm bringing, or it can be a surprise and I can show up and you know, you won't even know what I have.
Cool. So are there different levels of, you know, maybe I want 2 courses or maybe I want 4 courses? Is there different cost levels too, or is it everything standard?
Absolutely. No, everything's flexible because I have no set menus. So it's kind of how many courses and what the food you want.
If I want lobster, I want hamburgers, it's probably going to be 2 different prices.
But see, I don't usually do the hamburgers, and that's the thing.
You get hamburgers.
There is the cost of entry there, but once you get into that, it's usually about a 4-course meal. Okay. I usually do, like, depending on how many people, a couple snacks. So like this is a crab salad. And that's one of the snacks I would do. So it's something that I can put up really quickly, and it's out while people are kind of arriving. Okay. You can kind of munch on while I'm cooking. So I'll usually put 1 or 2 of those out, and then do more of a formal, like 3 or 4 course served meal.
Very cool. All right. So how would our listeners track you down if they want to find out about you, talk to you, hire you?
Well, I'm Perfect Little Bites. So my website is perfectlittlebites.com. Okay. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/perfectlittlebites, Instagram, Perfect Little Bites. So put it in Google, you'll find me.
Okay, cool. Chris, thank you for joining us today. Listeners, that was episode 131 of Frederick Advice Givers. Chris Spear with Perfect Little Bites. We are out.